Okay, welcome back. That's pretty much all it for Chapter 5. I mean, they do have a section on page 159 where they make you go through and create another emulator on a tablet form factor rather than a phone to see how your thing looks. I'm not going to do that. You can do that on your own. So what we are going to do is we're going to take a skip ahead to Chapter 12 for a minute and learn how to talk to a widget using Java code. Now, this is a skill that we need a heck of a lot sooner than Chapter 12, so it's a little unusual. So I'm going to close this guy down, so File, and then we're going to create us a brand new guy. So create a new project. I'm going to go back to the same old, same old. I'm going to use this guy. I'm going to use next. This time I'm going to just call it Chapter 5A. Okay, so here we go. Now I got my guy up and running. Okay, so I'm going to go to my layout and make a couple of things. So here's my guy. Oh wait, let me start over. I'm going to whack this because I want you to get familiar with whacking this. So I'm just going to go here and I'm going to do a delete. I'm going to delete this guy. I'm going to turn right around. I'm going to create me a brand new one. I'm going to call it the same thing, activity main. This is going to be a linear guy. I could be using a scroll view, but I don't particularly need it in this particular case. So now we're back to the way we start up. Almost all of our projects are going to be done like this, so we might as well learn this technique. Okay. So I'm just going to grab me, I don't know, a text view and drop him on here, and a plain text box and drop him on here, and a button and drop him on here. Okay, so I just have a text view, you know, a text box guy, and then a button. That's it. All right, so when I click the button, what I want to do is I want to programmatically change the value in that edit text box. All right, so here's how it's done. First of all, it would be, if you're going to be talking to these guys, I really would like, you probably should have names for them that make sense. So I'm going to change the attribute names for these, this ID guy. This is what's going to show up in the @ID. Okay, so I have this thing, it's called Hungarian Notation. You don't necessarily have to do it this way, but I use the first 2 or 3 letters as describing what it is that it is. So this is a text view. So I'm going to call this one, I don't know, text view top, okay? And then it's going to say, hey man, you want to change all the places where this exists? Sure, go right ahead. This edit text, I'm going to change him to ED, edit text, ET, edit text. I don't know, top. And of course, and then the button, I'm going to call him, I don't know, how about be in do it. Something silly. Doesn't really matter what it is. Okay, and yes, would you like to make those changes? So now I've got names that kind of make sense to me. This is kind of sort of important. All right, I'm going to go back to my Java guy. Now, every time I want to talk to one of these guys, I probably need to provide a variable that I can talk to, but it has to be at the right scope. So I want to go here and say text view. Now you don't have to call them the exact same thing, okay? Edit text, ET top. I tend to call them the exact same names. It just makes it easier for me. I don't, you know, maybe that's just me, okay? So now I've declared these variables up top. Now down here, I need to tell it, go to the resources, the R guy, and pull this guy up and populate these controls. So I'm going to say TV top is equal to, and I'm going to cast this. Casting is not absolutely required, but just bear with me. And then I say find view by ID, r.id. And then there's those things we just talked about. There should be one called TV top. Cool? And then I should have an ET top. is equal to text view. Same thing over again. Find view by r.id.et top. Okay. So now I've created a variable on lines 11 and 12, and it's at the right scope. And then, oh, it's not a text view. It's an edit text, sorry. And then I've gone to the resources and extracted those guys out. So now we're going to create an event handler for the button, right? You remember how all this works? I'm going to go back to here, just do it the easy way. So my button, and since this is a very common thing, it's right here on click. So I'm going to call this one do it, because that's the name of the button. Now clearly there's not already a method called that, but I could fix that in a heck of a hurry. So the method's going to have to be inside the class, but outside of onCreate. And we've done this before, so this should be automatic. Public void, what I call it? Do it. And it takes a view as an argument, okay? And of course, it's never heard of view before, so we have to click here and then tell it to fix it for us. Come on. So I import the class view. So what I want to do now is I want to, when you click this, I want to change the value in the label and change the value in the edit text box. So TV top is equal to hello. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I start over? TV top set text. Jeez. Okay, so I've set the text value whenever you hit this guy. I'm going to do the same thing for the ET guy. So ET top, I'm going to do set text there. Okay, now let's talk about what we just did. I created two variables at the top. I set the variables inside onCreate, and then inside a button event handler or whatever else is appropriate, you actually tell it that you want the thing to run. Okay, so let me get this guy up and running. Okay, I'm going to click the button, and it changed it to hello and there. Okay, now this is a skill that we're going to need in the next chapter, so you might as well just learn it now. Okay, that's all for Chapter 5, and now it's time for us to switch over to Chapter 6. Let's starting over with a brand new project, just like we've done before. Okay, so I close my project, and now I'm going to create me a new project, just like before. And it's going to be called Chapter 6. I don't have very imaginative names, do I? Chapter 6. And we're off and running. Okay, this part should be kind of familiar by now. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to my layout. I'm going to whack my layout. And then I'm going to start him over again. New layout resource file. I'm going to call it activity main. And I'm going to change this from a constraint layout to a linear layout. By the way, the constraint layout is superior in lots and lots of ways. Don't get me wrong. It's just not something that is useful from a learning perspective. Okay, so now we've got everything back, so to speak. And so now we have a guy that's up and running. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to deviate from the instructions in the book, because now we learn how to make text boxes and stuff. So I'm going to grab a text view and just drop him on the thing here. And I'm going to grab me a plain text guy and drop him onto here. Now this time I want it to be slightly different. In fact, I'm going to undo that. I don't want that one. There's actually one in here called multi-line text. That's the guy that I want. So I'm going to drag him onto there. Okay, cool. Now the multi-line text, for reasons that are it's going to make a little bit more sense in just a minute, I'm going to have him consume all of the rest of the screen, okay? So how do you make it consume all of the vertical space? Why, you go in here and tell it I want instead of the height being wrapped content, I want match parent. And boom, that's going to consume all of the available space, which is what I want. All right, for my text view, I'm just going to add a couple of little doodads in here. For example, this is going to be called the life cycle demo. Okay, cool. So now I have a life cycle demo. Let's make it the text a little larger. Ooh. Let's do this. Size. Oh yeah, text size. I'm just gonna pick one off the list. Okay, cool. All right. Now see the gravity guy. I really want to make some gravity changes to that. So I want this type of gravity so it's centered, right? I don't want to move the item. I just want to change the way it is. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to change it to center. Whoops. What was I? I must. Whoop. I didn't mean that. Dang it. There, cool. I don't know what I had clicked on before, but all right. So now we got that. We're going to do the little trick that we learned just a few minutes ago. I'm going to go in and change. I'm probably not going to talk to the text view, so there's no need for me to make a fancy name for it. But this guy, yeah, I'm going to talk to him, so I want to change his name. Okay, and so let me get rid of my search guy, and I'm going to call him. He's edit text, so he's ET messages. Okay, that's going to be the name of this guy, ET messages. Cool. All right, so I'm going to go back to, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing we did before. I'm going to do edit text, and I'm going to type ET messages. Cool. Then of course it doesn't know what you're talking about, so we have to go in here and do an import, and then inside create. We're going to go here and say ET messages is equal to, I'm going to do it without the cast. It really doesn't matter, but hey, I kind of like doing it. Find view by ID, r.id.et messages. Okay, now we can talk to that guy if we need to. But before we start talking to the guy, I want to go over what it is we're doing in Chapter 6. Yay! Okay. So, the life cycle of an Android app, believe it or not, is very strange. It is one of the defining differences between writing a Java app for Windows and writing a Java app for an Android device. And that is, the life cycle is strange, and you're just gonna have to understand it because there's an awful lot of things that happen, and you need to know when they occur and how they occur. Okay, so this is unique to mobile platform. All right. So on page 165, they talk about the life and times of an Android application. And so we've all seen this onCreate guy. So onCreate happens really early, and it only happens once in the life cycle of an application. Okay? So that's where you put things like, I want to assign the value of a variable, right? Because I know it's only going to happen once, and it's going to happen at the very beginning, even before the application gets rendered. That happens. That kind of makes sense? Okay. So on page 164, they start talking about the override directive, and because we're extending from a thing called app compatibility, right? Which means we're inheriting. And so inside this guy, there's already something called onCreate. So we're going to use quite a few of these guys coming up in just a minute. And then we call the super version of onCreate, which means go back and do whatever the heck it's supposed to do. And then when you're done, come back here and we'll do some more. Okay, we're coming up on the 15-minute mark. You guys know how this works.